like yesterday, in this quiet little town where I will always stay. Nothing really happens here, and I guess that's fine. Everything's predictable in a little town like mine. Come see the marketplace, the merchants and their wares. Anything that you might need, you're sure to find it there. Children on their way to school, laughing as they go. How I love Jerusalem and this life I've come to know. See how each day begins just like the one before. Every person has their place, of that you can be sure. Sun comes up and sun goes down, just like yesterday, in our quiet little town. But I feel the winds of change.
And Kurt Tippett said, "No, Mr. Crow, I don't want to live at the top of the tree anymore. I want to go paddling with the swans and spend the rest of my life swimming in my 1,000,000-shekel pond." But then a secret deal emerged, which showed that the crows and Kurt had broken the rules of the playground. And Kurt was forced to sit in the naughty corner at the edge of the pond. And the Crow family spent several years in the premiership wilderness, and no one lived happily ever after. Yes, Hannah.
I really don't get it, Miss Bethany. Is the story saying that different animals and birds shouldn't live together?
Sometimes animals struggle to live together because they're scared of each other or don't trust one another. Yes, Sarah.
There are sometimes adults who don't always get along either.
My dad says that's because the woman's place is in the kitchen and the man's place is in the shed.
Yes, Shadrach, with all the other tools.
That wasn't really called for, Naomi. And yes, Sarah, sometimes people struggle to get along as well. Why, even right here in Jerusalem, there are different races who sometimes struggle to get along. It can take a very unique event to bring them all together united as one.
You mean like when Psy got the world doing Gangnam Style?
Oppan Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style. Op, 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 op. Oppan Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style. Op, 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 op. Oppan Gangnam Style.
Okay, sit down. We've had our fun. And no, that was not what I meant. Let's see. Oh, we were talking about animals. Who here has an animal in their home?
They've got snakes at the Galilean bakehouse.
Inside voice, Marcus. We don't interrupt in class. We raise our hand and quietly wait our turn. Yes, Sarah.
I have a lamb called Felicia, 2 budgies, and 27 guinea pigs, Miss Bethany. And we are really excited because we are hoping my Aunt Ella is soon going to turn into a frog.
I don't think that's the case, Sarah. People don't turn into frogs in real life.
But they must be able to, Miss B, because Daddy says that we're going to get a whole heap of shekels as soon as she crows.
Yes, Joanna.
I have 2 little puppies who sleep each side of my bed at night. And every morning they wake me up by singing really loudly. Daddy says they're my subwoofers.
They do have snakes at the Galilean bakehouse, Miss B. I heard that they mince them all up and squish them in a big pot with their hands and mix in vegetables and seasoning. Then they take the minced up snakes and wrap them in pastry, then cook them till they're crisp and golden brown.
Marcus, we have rules in our classroom about interrupting. We all know that your father is Pontius Pilate, the governor of Judea.
It's Pontius Pilate, Miss B. My father just hates it when people say his name wrong.
But that does not excuse you from practicing politeness and good manners. Now, who can share an example of using manners? How about you, Shadrach?
When my father and I were down at the new Chinese takeaway shop waiting for our food, he made me give up my seat for a lady.
That is a wonderful example, and one that each one of you should follow. Shadrach's father is a leader at the temple, and he has shown the type of manners that each one of you should show. A boy should always give up his seat for a lady.
Does it count that I was sitting on my dad's lap at the time, Miss B?
But do you think they take the fangs out before they mince the snakes up, Miss B? And I reckon you'd have to squirt in a whole heap of sauce, because I reckon they'd taste pretty slimy. Wouldn't you reckon, Miss B?
I reckon that you can spend your recess picking up papers in the schoolyard, Marcus. We will not tolerate these interruptions. And Marcus, do you honestly believe that the Galilean bakehouse would put minced up snakes in their food?
They do, Miss B. They honestly do. Haven't you seen the advertising on their door up the main street? It says they sell python pasties.
Well, class, I think it's time for a history lesson.
I'm just glad it's only 30 AD, Miss Bethany.
Why's that, Hannah?
Well, at least the lesson should be short. I mean, nothing's really happened yet.
Well, today we are going to study the history of our very own town, Caleb, have I not spoken to you in the past about bringing your iPad to class?
Sorry, Miss B.
Well, Jerusalem has been around for a long, long time. Who can tell us who was on the throne in Judea 1,000 years ago? Yes, Sarah.
Queen Elizabeth?
It may feel that way, Sarah, but no, not Queen Elizabeth.
Oh, was it King Arthur, Miss B? Oh, I heard he's such a dreamboat. Oh, and he lived in a life of gallantry as he pursued the love of his life, Guinevere.
And his cute servant Merlin spent all of his life polishing Arthur's boots while hiding the fact he did magic and rode dragons on weekends.
And then Arthur died in Merlin's arms.
And Sunday nights on Channel 10 will never be the same again.
No, girls, rest assured, it was not King Arthur. Yes, Joanna.
Wasn't it King Solomon?
Oh, nearly, Joanna. Not King Solomon, but King Solomon's father, King David. Oh, and he was famous for killing a giant with something they said couldn't even hurt. Do you know what that was?
The carbon tax?
It was a stone in a slingshot, Miss Bethany, and David used it to show his power. He showed his might to honour his people and all the descendants of Abraham. And he went on to become king and ruled over his people for 40 years. And from King David's line shall one day come a new king, a Messiah, who will rule over the people of Israel with wisdom, honour and glory. And my dad says that the fleas of 1,000 camels will infest the armpits of any false prophet who comes along pretending to be this long-awaited Messiah. For they shall be condemned to a death which shall be fatal.
Thank you, Shadrach. Your historical knowledge is very insightful. So, who knows who was on the throne in Judea today?
It doesn't matter who is the king, Miss B. I know it's King Herod, but it wouldn't matter if it was some lonely dude from Shepherd Wants a Wife. Jerusalem is under Roman rule now, and my father, the Right Honourable Pontius Pilate, is the most respectablest and powerfulest man in all the land.
My dad says that Caiaphas, the high priest, is the most important man in the land.
Well, my dad says that Caiaphas is just a puppet and that the Romans use him as a dangly puppet thing.
Well, my dad says that the role of the governor is just a figurehead, and your dad just spends his time going around the country stirring up apathy.
Have you two boys had enough?
Sorry, Miss Bethany.
So, King Herod is the king of Judea, Caiaphas, the Jewish high priest, and Marcus's father, Pontius Pilate, the governor appointed from Rome. And each one has a very unique and specialized role. Marcus, could you tell us a little bit about the role of the governor?
My father is Pontius Pilate, and he's just so important. He gets to eat at all the really cool restaurants like McBurgers and Capernaum Fried Chicken every day of the week if he wants to. He sits on this really big seat down at the courthouse, and each day people come to him because he's so wise and knowledgeable. My dad says the reason that he sometimes talks to himself is because occasionally even he needs expert advice. Each day he stands before the people of Judea, revered in a godlike state, and overwhelms the general population with his wisdom, his smartness, and his vice-like grip on power. And all those who come before him are humbled in his presence.
All rise for the Right Honourable Governor Pontius Pilate, presiding procurator in the land of Judea.
Okay, sit. And it's Pontius Pilate, you fool. It's bad enough I have to be in this backwater without imbeciles like you mispronouncing my name.
Always proud to be an imbecile in your court, Pontius Pilate, sir.
Pontius. All right, let's get on with it.
The Right Reverend Procurator will now deliberate in case number 6543D in relation to substantive claims of misconduct under Section 84A, Class 9564K of the Ignorant and Apathetic Act 16 AD.
Ignorant and apathetic, what does that mean?
I don't know and I don't care, sir.
I can't believe I have to spend my days putting up with this. So go on, dazzle me with the important details of the case. What is it, the founder of Wikidrips seeking asylum in my territory? People rorting the solar panel rebate again? Or is a cocker spaniel stolen someone's baby?
Plaintiff calls Mr. Rigor Mortis.
Mr. Rigor Mortis. Don't tell me you are an undertaker.
Yes, sir. I know some people say it's a dead-end job. And I work with a skeleton staff. But in the end, people are just dying to visit me. What can I say? We undertakers are very popular people, you know, even if our clients don't tend to say very much. And I know that some say that I'm too quick to put people in boxes, but I try not to judge anybody. As they say in my trade, all men are cremated equal.
You undertakers all seem to like telling jokes, Mr. Mortis.
Oh, they weren't jokes, Your Highness. No, what we would call a joke in our profession would be, knock, knock, who's there? Grandpa, hold on, stop the funeral.
All right, so tell me why you are before me today, Mr. Mortis.
I have a grave problem, Your Honour. A new undertaker has just moved in from Caesarea, and I wish to apply for an injunction to stop him moving in on my territory. I feel it is an underground plot. There just isn't enough room for another undertaker in Jerusalem, sir. As they say, it is a dying industry.
So, you're telling me there isn't enough work for the both of you? Tell me, Mr. Mortis, what is the death rate here in Jerusalem?
Well, that's the problem, sir. It's the same as everywhere else. Just one death each. And there's no repeat business.
All right, Mr. Mortis. I'll grant you your injunction for 12 months. And just don't you go and get so busy that you bury yourself in your work.
Well, thank you, sir. And always remember, I will be the last one to let you down.
Where do we find them? Who's next?
Case number 6544D, Mr. Antonio Abatus versus Ms. Julia Galadius. In relation to claims of lying, misrepresentation, and the use of very big words under Section 56K of the Political Affiliations Act 11AD.
Well, lying and misrepresentation, those sound like serious crimes. Tell me more, Mr. Abatus.
It's simple, Your Honour. We've been living in the same house for the past 3 years, and I think it's time she swapped with me so I can sit on her side of the house for a while, in the comfy chairs, and call the shots.
You'd only mess it up, Antonio, and leave scattered work choices and Iraqi wheat scandals lying all over the floor like you normally do. That's not to mention these.
Well, at least the carpet on my side of the room hasn't been bloodied from stains in Ruddy Brutus's back.
If he ends up on my side of the house, I'm telling you now, there'll be children overboard in the bathtubs. He'll sell off the energy-producing haystacks to the Babylonians, and there'll be no end in sight to the Galilean fishing crisis.
All right, enough. Just remember, this is a court of law, and anything you say can and will be held against you.
El McPherson?
Oh, it's comments like these, Mr. Procurator, which prove that Mr. Abatus is just a master of misogyny.
There she goes again with the big words, Your Honour. I remember the promise she made when she moved into the house. There will be no words of more than 4 syllables used under the roof of a house in which I lead.
And this from the man who went into a think tank and almost drowned.
Order in the court. Governor Pontius will now speak.
Pontius. Now, there are those out there who say, I have the wisdom of Solomon. But surely this is not rocket science, whatever that is. Can't the two of you both just agree to work together for the good of the people around you?
Well, I have always said that I'm willing to work together with Antonio, as long as he does it my way.
How about you both just promise to give 100% to finding a way to resolve these differences?
How about she just promises to give 100% next time she visits the blood bank?
You're about as much use as a flat battery. You'll never get anything started.
Well, at least a flat battery still has a positive side.
Will you two at least try to work together to resolve these differences?
Well, Your Highness, at least I have an open mind.
I know. I can feel the draft from here.
Okay. I can see there is as much chance of reconciliation here as there is of Paris Hilton getting a law degree. I'm going to fine you both $200 and leave you with this parting comment, that if you wish to spend the rest of your days in a state of despair, then move to Victoria. I'm going to lunch.
Well, there you go, Julia. He really told you that time. I'm surprised you didn't drag out your global warming theory that the reason the days are longer in summer is that they expand with the heat.
Oh, as I've told you millions of times before, Antonio, don't exaggerate.
Well, at least I have my integrity intact. If there's one thing I cannot bear, it's a fool.
Oh, really? Your mother certainly did.
Oh.
Well, well, days of our lives in downtown Jerusalem.
I can't believe Caesar actually sent me to this backwater. I mean, seriously, with all my qualifications and expertise, I could have easily held down a senior position in Rome or Corinth or even Capernaum.
Not to mention Caesarea, with a little beachside villa, coffee on the promenade, shopping at all the upmarket boutiques, corporate box at Arimathea Park.
But instead we find ourselves in Jerusalem, a town where I have about as much respect as Alan Jones would have at a Labour Party barbecue.
But at least you're in charge, Pontius. You are the governor, the most important man in all the land. And we have a lovely house and lots of money.
Yes, but rich people are just poor people with yachts. At the end of the day, being a governor in Jerusalem, it's just like being in charge of a cemetery, Claudia. You've got all these people under you, but no one is listening.
I listen to you, honey.
I need more than that, Claudia. I have so much to give. There are so many things that I could do if only Rome would give me the opportunity. I'm telling you, one day people all over the world will remember the name Pontius Pilate. I'm too big for this town. I don't belong in this humdrum. This riffraff cannot see that greatness lives among them. I'm too big for this town. I'm too big for this town. These people don't deserve me. Bickering squabbles, there must be something more than this. I'm too big for this town. I can see my name in lights, I can see a worldwide following, I can see fame and fortune, I can see it coming soon. I'm gonna be great, I'm gonna be famous, I'm gonna be loved, idolized, adored. I'm gonna be great, I'm gonna be famous, I'm gonna be worshipped, immortalized, revered. I was born to be something so much more than this. I'm gonna be great, I'm gonna be famous, I'm gonna be remembered.
You're too big for this town. There must be something so much bigger. You were meant for so much more than listening to them bicker. You're too big for this town.
Little town, just wait and see. One day I'll be remembered for the most important trial this town has seen or heard. I'm too big for this town.
I can see your name in lights.
I can see a worldwide following.
I can see fame and fortune.
I can see it coming soon. I'm gonna be great, I'm gonna be famous, I'm gonna be loved, idolized, adored. I'm gonna be great, I'm gonna be famous, I'm gonna be worshipped, immortalized, revered. I was born to be something so much more than this. I'm gonna be great, I'm gonna be famous, I'm gonna be loved, idolized, adored. I'm gonna be great, I'm gonna be famous, I'm gonna be remembered.
Aha! Good evening, Governor. It's delightful to see you and Mrs. Pilate out walking the beautiful Jerusalem streets this fine evening.
Well, anything would be better than sitting at home watching Big Brother. Mr. Hezekiah, why do you come seeking me? Do you need an injunction to stop the Cana crows inflicting another slaughter on the Arimathea power? Or did someone take 9 items through the 8 items or less at Woolies? Or did that locust-eating John the Baptizer fellow finally drown someone?
Well, no, Governor. Although there is a new self-proclaimed Messiah wandering the streets, we really need to keep an eye on him. Apparently there was this party trick at a wedding in Cana where they ran out of the Banrock Shiraz, and he manages to conjure up some hill of grace out of thin air.
I'm disappointed I wasn't there.
But that's not the reason I'm here. As you would know, the fine leaders and elder statesmen of Jerusalem have been working together for some time to construct a grand monument to celebrate 1,000 years since the rule of King David in our town.
Oh, yes. My arts group saw the etchings for it some time ago. Wasn't it designed by that local artist Thomas? The one they call the Doubter?
Yes, madame, that is the one. In fact, it should have been completed a long time ago, but it's taken us some time to raise the required shekels. And this Thomas character kept changing the design over and over. However, I am very pleased to announce that our multi-centenary sculpture, Balancing Act, is now complete.
Wonderful.
And so it is my duty to ask you, as the highest, most dignified and respected leader of our land, if you would honour us with the privilege of dedicating our humble little sculpture. I mean, we know you are a busy man, and you may well feel it beneath a man of your great stature to want to stand before the citizens of your town and have them hail you as the great leader you are. And, knowing your enormous modesty, we wouldn't want to run the risk of having the media, scribes, and town criers exalting your name across the Roman Empire.
Enough. Will Win News be there? I will do as you ask. Please ensure the necessary procedures and protocols are put in place.
Thank you, sire. You are a wise and mighty leader.
Thank you, sire. You are a wise and mighty leader.
I'm going to be great. I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be loved. Lies the dawn. I'm going to be great. I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be worshipped, immortalized, revered. I was born to be something so much more than this. I'm going to be great. I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be remembered.
Well, Thomas, I hope you will consider my offer very seriously.
I will, Jesus, but as I've already explained, it's not that I don't want to spend time with you, but my life is very cramped already without trying to fit you into it as well.
As a fellow carpenter, I understand your need to work with your hands to fulfill your destiny. But if you will walk with me, I can show you a whole new path.
Thanks, Jesus. But I really don't see how I'd have the time. What with my wedding coming up and having to finish this balancing act sculpture before the governor finds time to come and open it, I really don't see how I'd fit it in. And then I have Terry Sawade begging me to come to the school and build him some docking stations, which doesn't even make any sense because they don't even own a boat.
There will always be a place for you among my people, Thomas.
Goodness, Thomas, do you know who that was?
Sure, it's Jesus, the preacher guy who's doing the rounds at the moment.
Oh, but Thomas, he's not just any preacher, he's Jesus! He is the biggest thing out there right now. Well, he's bigger than Obama. And I cannot believe he was actually here in your workshop, and the place is such a mess. Thomas, why would you even invite him inside without starting to clean up a bit first? What did he want?
He said he wanted me to follow him.
Follow him? You mean like on Twitter? I bet he has thousands of Twitter followers. Ugh, that reminds me. Well, I forgot to post on Facebook that I was just at the gym. Now that entire workout was a complete waste of time.
No, he said he wanted me to follow him, literally. He wanted me to leave everything I have here and follow him.
Oh my goodness, Thomas! You mean that he offered you The chance to be a part of his entourage? But that would mean that we could live a life of fame and fortune. I can see it now. Oh, Thomas. Penthouse suites at the Hyatt. Caviari for breakfast. Caviar for breakfast. Paparazzi sketch artists watching our every move. Stop it. We might even get to go on the Brownlow red carpet. I have to go and catch a dub so I can send some tweets to my friends.
I told him no.
What?
Abigail, these preachers are a dime a dozen these days. Ever since that star appeared above Bethlehem and those so-called wise men from Persia came all the way to see King Herod, these Messiah-claiming activists are everywhere. Unless I see with my own eyes and hear with my own ears, I will not believe in these so-called messiahs.
Why are you such a skeptic?
I don't believe in skeptics.
But Jesus does miracles.
I haven't seen any.
That's because you spend all of your time stuck here in your workshop with your head in the sand and you don't get out and see things. Haven't you heard about how he fed 5,000 people on the cliff top overlooking Lake Galilee last week?
This country isn't looking for a good caterer, Abigail. It's looking for a leader. Someone who will get rid of the carbon tax and replace it with a jargon tax. Now that would raise enough shekels to buy back Cubby Station. Someone who will insist that when the weather forecasters say rain, they don't just mean a solo cumulus nimbus cloud floating across the blue horizon.
Well, they don't call them the Bureau of Mythology for nothing, Thomas.
Someone who will have the internal fortitude to legislate against those down, the prices are down commercials.
Down, prices are down, down, prices are down. You don't like politicians very much, do you, Thomas?
Well, what do you expect of someone in politics? I mean, just look at the name. Polly being many and ticks being small blood-sucking insects.
Politics? Oh, Thomas, you are too much. But Jesus doesn't seem to have a political agenda. He's been talking about love.
Get off.
And caring for your neighbour.
I've got bigger things to worry about than Jesus, Abigail, or the Right Honourable Pontius Pilate for that matter. Apparently, if I don't get this balancing act sculpture finished before next week's Farm Sickle Parade, they are going to withhold my grant funding for my proposed reupholstering of East Terrace.
It's looking really good, Thomas. You really are a fine carpenter.
I don't know. It'll probably just come crashing down in a big heap, and then where will I be? And then I doubt they'll want to pay me. And if they don't pay me, I won't be able to afford your wedding ring. And if I can't afford your wedding ring, we can't get married.
Oh, what a way to kick me while I'm down, Thomas!
And if we can't get married, then those 6 weeks of practicing for the bridal waltz will all be in vain.
Oh, Thomas, what did you ever do before you met me?
Anything I wanted to.
Well, can't you at least just give Jesus a chance, Thomas? I mean, it really wouldn't be such a bad career move to spend some time around him, would it? And if all else falls down, being part of his entourage would be kind of fun, wouldn't it? And can you imagine having him at our wedding? You have heard those wine-making rumours, haven't you, Thomas? Oh, please, honey. Please.
I'll think about it, Abigail. I'll think about it.
Thank you, Thomas. You are the bestest. I have to go and catch that dove. I don't know where it went. I should not have left the cage door open. I could catch another one. I'm really fast.
breathe.
You boys and your immature games.
My father says you should always be prepared for battle.
I don't get why there always has to be fighting. Why can't we be a peace, loving nation?
They're boys. I still can't work out why anyone would want to marry one.
Oh, I don't know. I still think there are going to be a really lot of disappointed boys out there when I finally get married.
Why? How many do you plan to marry?
Shadrach isn't much of a fighter anyhow. He could aim an arrow into the air and still miss.
I don't get why there has to be fighting. Why can't you guys do something peaceful, like meditation?
Meditation? That doesn't work. You might as well sit around doing nothing all day.
The Romans are a strong, powerful nation. My father says...
I don't care what your procrastinator father says. What have the Romans ever achieved?
It's procurator, not procrastinator. And the Romans have had many great achievements, including the building of roads, aqueducts, and calendars.
My dad says calendars' days are numbered.
Speaking of roads, it won't be long until I get my L plates. And then I get to learn how to drive a camel on the streets. I guess that makes me a road scholar.
I like being a scholar. I think Miss Bethany's a wonderful teacher.
Teachers, they don't know everything.
Well, I also think Miss Bethany's a wonderful teacher, and she tells us wonderful stories.
I love it when Miss Bethany tells us stories about our past, like when Noah took all the animals onto the ark in pairs.
Except the worms. They went in apples.
My favourite is the story of Jonah and the whale. Isn't it amazing that Jonah could have been swallowed up and lived for days inside the stomach of a whale and still come out alive to tell the tale?
Ew, he would have stunk more than my dog Barker after he'd been eating a dead sheep.
You don't seriously believe that Jonah actually lived inside a whale, do you?
Of course. My father says it's true and he's a leader in the temple.
How can you prove that the Jonah story is true?
I can't, but when I get to heaven, I'll ask him about it.
What if he's not in heaven?
Then you can ask him.
If you don't believe in Jonah, then what about the preacher Jesus?
I like Jesus. He's really nice.
I still can't believe he fed those thousands of people on the park a few weeks ago, just using the 2 fish and 5 bread loaves Josh just happened to have in his lunchbox.
Can you imagine if he would have had chocolate biscuits instead? It would have been like the packet of Tim Tams that never ran out.
My daddy says Jesus is the Messiah.
My mum says that too.
What do you think, Shadrach? Your old man keeps going on about waiting for the promised Messiah to come and save your people. Do you think Jesus is the promised Messiah? Apparently, John the locust-eating baptizer man seems to think that he's it.
My dad says he is a viper, a snake who has come to turn the people on themselves. He's just a stirrer-upper of trouble, someone who has come into our town with ill intent on his mind. But Dad says he'll eventually go away, like all the others.
But I heard he walks on water.
Calms the raging seas.
Fed thousands with 2 fish and some loaves.
Made the blind to see.
I know he saw some fishermen fixing their nets and said, "Come and follow me." Some call him Messiah.
But who can he really be?
I heard he walks on water, calms the raging sea. Fed thousands with 2 fish and some loaves, made the blind to see. Saw some fish
with sinners. He touches lepers and speaks to women of ill repute. He upturned tables at the temple.
He said, I am the one. Some say he is God's son, and people follow where he goes. I heard he walks on water, calms the raging seas, fed thousands with 2 fish and some loaves, made the blind to see. Saw some fishermen mending their nets and said, come and follow me. Some call him Messiah, but who can he really be? Some call him Messiah, but who can he really be?
If you could all be seated, please, ladies and gentlemen. Today is indeed a monumental day in the life of our fair city, if you pardon the pun. Today, we officially unveil our long-awaited multi-centenary sculpture balancing act, which has been designed and built by none other than our very own resident artist and carpenter, Thomas.
Woo! Thomas! Yeah, Thomas! Come on! Get in! Woo! Thomas! Yeah, you're really good at what you do.
This is a wonderful opportunity for us, as citizens of Judea, to celebrate our joyous heritage, which started with Kings David and Solomon and has spread throughout the ages to today, where we are pleased to be under Roman rule, with all the benefits they bring to us. And so, as befitting a moment of this magnitude, it is my privilege and honor to introduce to you the Governor of Judea, the Right Honourable Pontius Pilate.
Pontius!
Who will dedicate this sculpture. Please make him feel welcome.
It looks fantastic, Thomas.
I just hope that dodgy duct tape I got from Cheapest Chips doesn't break down. I should have got the genuine stuff like you told me to.
Don't worry about it, Thomas. It'll be fine. This sculpture is going to be your crowning glory.
Citizens and loyal subjects of Judea, what a privilege it is to have been invited as your governor and procurator to have the honour of dedicating this fine monument to celebrate the multi-centenary of this town.
Did you bring the Mentos? I can tell this is gonna be long.
It is a town of which Rome is very proud to be associated, and indeed one of the jewels of the Roman Empire.
Did you remember to set the DVD player to record The Biggest Loser?
I tried, Abigail, but for some reason it just kept recording Port Power games.
Jerusalem, as you all know, was the town ruled by King David and his son King Solomon. But Judea is also the region of some other prominent citizens, like Isaac Banger, who invented the very first door knocker, for which he received the Nobel Prize. Like Elvis of Emmaus, who put wheels on his grandmother's rocking chair and became the founder of rock and roll.
I'm starting to get a bad feeling about this, Abigail. I mean, what if people don't like it?
Why do you always doubt yourself, Thomas? It will be fantastic. This sculpture is going to bring the whole town together.
So I'm sure many of you are asking, what does this sculpture represent? How does this mass of timber, glass and hessian, held together with cable ties, baling twine, and no more gaps?
I told you, he doesn't even know about the duct tape.
How does this represent our past? How does this give us hope for the future? Well, this fine piece of modern architecture, like Judea, has been built on a strong foundation. Like the city of Jerusalem, it stands tall as a testament to the past and an inspiration for the future. And, as the name Balancing Act suggests, the sculpture has been majestically crafted to give the impression that we as a society are balancing the old and the new, the Jewish people and the Roman rulers, the laws of the past as given by Moses on Mount Sinai, and the laws of the future as decreed by Caesar himself. But this balance gives us strength. Together we stand strong, just as this sculpture will stand strong long into the future. We as a society under Roman rule stand firm, shoulder to shoulder, and nothing will ever shake us. And so, with those few words, it is indeed my privilege and honour to cut the ribbon signifying the opening of this monument today.
Jesus, wait!
I can't believe that came tumbling down. Maybe it's a sign. Jesus has been doing some pretty incredible things lately, like turning the tables over at the temple and interpreting the scriptures in a whole new way. People are coming from everywhere to see him. Fishermen leaving their nets, tax collectors giving away their money. And now even Thomas has gone after him. I wonder if he's more than just another preacher with an entourage of followers. Could he be the one that the scriptures has promised is to come? The blind receive their sight, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the poor have good news. The poor have good news brought to them. Are you the one who is to come? Are you the one who is to come? Are you the one, or are we to wait for another?
Welcome. You must be Mr. Hezekiah Shadrach's father. I'm Miss Bethany.
You asked to see me, Miss Bethany? Is there some kind of problem with my son?
Oh, it's parent-teacher night, Mr. Hezekiah. I asked to see the parents of all my students so that we might discuss their progress and see how we might best work together to make the most of their time in our classroom.
Well, Miss Bethany, I am a very busy man, and I don't have time for frivolous discussions. There are some complex issues we are currently dealing with at the temple, and there are great demands on my expertise. As some claim that I am one of the most powerful citizens in all Jerusalem.
So Shadrach keeps telling us. Have a seat, Mr. Hezekiah.
So, Miss Bethany, where is the concern? My son is bright. He is knowledgeable. There is no other child in all Judea with the scriptural knowledge Shadrach possesses. Did you know that he can recite the family line of David all the way back to Noah? I bet there are no others in your class who can do that. I taught him that, you know.
How very noble of you. Oh, chair legs on the floor, eyes forward, Mr. Hezekiah. Oh, yes, Shadrach has a very enigmatic personality, and he is blessed with a high level of intelligence.
Of course.
But there are times when he can be a bit disruptive and tends to be the class clown.
My son is not a clown.
Inside voice, Mr. Hezekiah.
Hey?
We use a quiet voice in the classroom, and hay is for feeding donkeys. A few examples from his work. From his oral work. The question was asked of the class, what is a comet? Shadrach said, a star with a tail. I said, name one. He said, Mickey Mouse.
That's funny, Miss Bethany.
and from his written work. In my early days, I felt like a male trapped in a female's body. And then I was born.
Tell me, how is he going in drama? My son has always liked to act.
You'll be pleased to know that Shadrach will be playing the role of a man married 25 years in our annual school play.
That is pleasing. A man married 25 years? Maybe next year he could get a speaking role.
My one concern about Shadrach is that lately he's been voicing some very strong political opinions that just aren't suitable for the classroom environment.
That is a concern, Miss Bethany. I really can't understand where he would get that from.
No, and lately he's been airing some very strong views about that preacher, Jesus.
Jesus? Why, that viper should be wiped off the face of the earth.
That's what Shadrach said.
He is misleading the people with his teachings, disrespecting the scribes, touching lepers, and even eating with tax collectors. Can you believe it?
Inside voice, Mr. Hezekiah.
He needs to be stopped. And I can't believe that people cannot see the irreparable damage he is doing. He's a blasphemer, a conjurer of tricks, a temptation for the soul.
We don't use that tone in our classroom, Mr. Hezekiah. Perhaps you could take a minute in the quiet corner and calm yourself down.
It needs people like me, people who understand the scriptures and their intent, to stand up and fight against false prophets like this Jesus. And I have a plan to stop him. A simple plan, an effective plan. And all it's going to cost me is 30 pieces of silver.
I understood that Jesus taught love, peace, and tolerance, and those are the same principles we like to reflect when we're in my classroom, Mr. Hezekiah.
Miss Bethany, I am from the temple, so I know all about love and peace and tolerance. But I won't have someone coming into my temple all high and mighty, claiming to I am the one who is to come. You dare not overturn the market stalls and upset the money changers in my temple forecourt, claiming it's your father's house. And I won't. I will not be issued with challenges like he who is without sin can cast the first stone when we bring an evil woman before this menace. I have a plan, and nothing, I repeat, nothing is going to stop me from getting rid of this man whom they are calling the Messiah.
I think that perhaps you could empty the bins into the camel skip as you leave the school grounds today. Don't you think, Mr. Hezekiah?
Yes, Miss Bethany.
Sun comes up and sun goes down, just like yesterday, in this quiet little town where I will always stay.
My son, I'm pleased that you asked to look to the future. We honor the past, the feast that we share together as one rejoices the sparing of each firstborn son.
Tell me the story again, Father.
Long, long ago, under Pharaoh's command, our people were slaves in the Egyptian land. Moses said, Pharaoh, please give us release. Our people want favor, freedom, and peace. But Pharaoh said, no, I won't let you go. You'll stay here with me you'll never be free. But Pharaoh said, no, I won't let you go. You'll stay here with me, you'll never be free. So God turned the river to blood, sent frogs and gnats and flies, and hoppers and fatal boils. He made the land go dark as night, but Pharaoh still didn't see the light. So God sent down the angel of death and killed all the firstborn sons.
He said they killed their sons. But what about the Israelites? How did God protect them?
They sacrificed a lamb, a lamb, a lamb, chosen by God's hand, a lamb, a lamb. The blood of the lamb they painted on the doorposts, as the Lord said. The angel of death passed by the blood and spared the lives of their sons. They sacrificed a lamb, a lamb, a lamb, chosen by God's hand, a lamb, a lamb.
Tell me, Father, what does it mean? The tale of the past and the Passover meal. Why all these rituals and why so sincere? Tell me, please, Father, I just want to hear.
These are Israelite traditions, so I'm not really sure. There are stories of angels and blood placed on doors, and death it passed over. That's why the name, that's why they feast, to thank God again.
Tell me about the food, Father.
Firstly, we choose a lamb 5 days before the festival takes place. It must be an unblemished lamb. It is to be a special type of offering, where a representative piece of the lamb is offered before our Lord and the priests of the temple. The rest is eaten by the one bringing the offering and their family as a celebration meal.
Tell me, Father, would they always start off the Passover meal with that foot washing thing, like they normally do when you go into the locals' houses?
I'm sure they do, Marcus. It is seen as very important by these people that you should not be seated at the table with the host unless you have first been made clean. But this washing of feet is a lowly and demeaning task, and one which you would only expect to be done by the lowest of servants.
Why do we eat the bread without the yeast, Father?
We eat unleavened bread to symbolize the speed at which our ancestors, the Israelites, had to pack up and leave before the bread had risen. We eat bitter herbs to represent the bitterness of slavery. And we eat the Passover lamb as a reminder of God's grace and forgiveness.
Do they use special words as part of the ceremony with the food, Father?
But before the bread is eaten, the host stands and repeats a special blessing which has been passed down for hundreds of years. These words and the eating of bread symbolize the strength given to us by God throughout the ages. It is to be in remembrance of the past.
Take and eat. This is my body, given for you. Do this in remembrance of me.
The host then pours out the wine and blesses it and shares it in remembrance of the blood that was spilt on that first Passover night. save our people in the past.
Take and drink. This is my blood, poured out for you for the forgiveness of sins. Do this in remembrance of me.
And then together we sing a song of praise.
Thomas, where are you going?
Jesus wants us to go to Gethsemane to pray. He seems to think one of us is going to betray him.
It's not going to be you, is it, Thomas?
Now even you are doubting me.
I would never doubt you. When will you be back?
Oh, I think after the madness of last week, everyone will be looking forward to a quiet weekend. After the palm parade on the donkey, the uproar Jesus caused at the temple, and the crazy things Jesus was talking about tonight. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thomas, what is it? What's wrong?
It's Jesus! They've taken him! Abigail, they've arrested him! They're going to kill him! I know it! I just know it!
Thomas, calm down. Speak slowly. What happened?
Well, we were praying in the garden. Well, Jesus was praying and we'd kind of nodded off. It's been a big week, Abby, and after all that food and wine...
Well, what happened next?
Well, these soldiers arrived, armed with spears and clubs, and they were sent from the temple, and Judas was with them. And he went up to Jesus and kissed him on the cheek, and then they took him away. I don't know what it all means.
So Judas was the betrayer?
Well, there was this thing that happened at the supper where Jesus gave Judas a piece of bread, and then he left suddenly.
Well, didn't anyone try and stop them?
Oh, Peter went nuts. Took a swipe at one of the guards and cut off his ear.
Yeah, attaboy, Peter! I'm sorry, it's not the time.
But then I just ran. And now I don't know what to do. What do we do now?
Well, where did they take him?
They were sent from the temple, so I guess they'll take him to Caiaphas. Yes, they'll take him to Caiaphas. I'll go and I'll find Peter and we'll come up with a plan. Peter is strong. He's an inspiration. He said tonight he would never deny Jesus. He'll know what to do.
Be careful, Thomas. They sacrificed a lamb.
All rise for the Right Honourable Governor Pontius Pilate, presiding procurator in the land of Judea.
Okay, sit. And well done, Bashir. Finally you managed to get the name right.
Thank you, Pontius Pilate, sir.
Pontius. So let's get on with it. I still can't believe we're so overloaded with cases we have to have this special nighttime session anyhow.
The Right Reverend Procurator will now deliberate in case number 6629K, Mr. Antonio Abatus versus Ms. Julia Galadius, on a point of appeal on a recent court judgment delivered by His Honour on...
You mean they're back? Don't you two ever give up?
It's all her fault, Mr. Honourable Pontius Pilate, sir.
Pontius?
When she swept the floor in the legal firm of Bicker, Sue and Haggle, over 30 years ago, she once used the company stapler without asking permission. And for this reason, she is not a fit person to be in control of the house in which we live, and I should get a turn.
I call on Mr. Abatus to be more respectful to the legal profession, and I ask him to strike from the legal record his claim that all lawyers should be buried at least 30 feet underground.
I wish to clarify to the courts the reason that I stated that all lawyers should be buried 30 feet underground is, deep down, lawyers are good people.
I call Mr. Abatus a nincompoop, a scallywag, and a constant threat to the smuggling of budgerigars everywhere.
Oh, there she goes again with the big words, Your Honour.
Enough. I've had enough of this, and I think everyone who listens to your daily tirades is sick to death of this constant... Get them out of here.
Pardon, sir?
I said get them out of here.
Where shall I send them, Your Honour?
Take them out in a rowboat the other side of Noumea and tip them overboard. I don't care. What are you doing in my courtroom at this late hour?
You know the reason we have come, Your Honour. We have a problem that needs to be dealt with.
Well, this is the preacher Jesus, is it not? Why do you bring him to me?
He has sinned against God and against man.
Really? Tell me about these great sins.
He is an inciter of trouble. He upturned the tables at the temple. He claims he can interpret the Holy Scriptures. He calls himself the Son of God.
Really? What a bad, bad boy. I must admit I've heard lots of things about this preacher Jesus, but most of the people seem to be in favour of him, judging by the massive crowds following after him like puppy dogs.
If he were not a criminal, we would not have brought him to you. He deserves to die for the crimes he has committed. He is a blasphemer, a hypocrite, and a purveyor of false teachings. He needs to be put to death.
You have your own laws. Judge him for yourself. It's your problem. Get him out of my courtroom.
He needs to die.
Ah, Mr. Mortis. Why am I not surprised to see you here when the whips are cracking? I'll bet you've run your tape measure over him already.
Oh, Governor Pilate, I don't think you understand the gravity of the situation.
I think I understand the situation perfectly well. You want him dead. But legally you can't execute him, can you? Your laws forbid it, unless he's done something which directly contradicts your scriptures. I think you've questioned him, in all probability tortured him, and you can't find anything to charge him with, so you've brought him to me.
We have brought him to you, Governor, because he opposes the payment of taxes to Caesar and claims to be leader of the people. I don't think Rome would want someone out there deliberately undermining their authority.
Let me talk to him. Well, you've caused quite a stir, Jesus of Nazareth. Tell me, are you the King of the Jews?
Is this what you think? Or have others spoken to you of me?
I hear lots of things about you, Jesus of Nazareth. I hear stories of miracle healings, big catches of fish, thousands fed with tiny amounts of food. And I hear of parables being told which have amazed the masses. And I've watched the people follow you down the streets like ants. But I'm not one of your people. Yet they've brought you to me. Why do you think this is so? What is it you have done?
My kingdom is not of this world. If it were, my followers would be fighting to prevent my arrest by these people. My kingdom is from another place.
Oh, so you are a king then?
You are right to say that I am a king.
Well, that's a pretty big call. I can kind of see why some amongst your people might just be a little upset, can't you?
This is why I came into the world. This is why I was born. I came to bring truth.
So, what do you say of these charges the temple leaders have brought against you? Blasphemy, inciter of riots, claims to be the Son of God. Tell me, King of the Jews, what is your defense? I demand that you answer me.
I came to bring truth.
What is truth? I have questioned this man, and I find no basis for the charges you bring against him.
But we have a law, and according to that law he must die because he claimed to be the Son of God.
Well, Rome has a law that men are innocent until proven guilty, and I find no fault with this man.
I would have thought, Governor Pilate, that as the Roman representative in Judea and someone with aspirations for much higher office, that it would not be beneficial to your cause to see an uprising in your jurisdiction just because you did not have the intestinal fortitude to make the strong decisions that need to be made.
If I were not the decent human being that I am, I might consider that a threat.
Gentlemen, Governor Pilate, we were only suggesting that Rome would like to see you as the strong leader we know you are.
And strong leaders make decisions that unite their communities, not tear them apart.
Even if the man is innocent? Tell me, is this man not a Galilean?
Well, yes, sire.
Then he falls under the jurisdiction of King Herod, who, as I'm led to believe, is the currently appointed King of the Jews. It's likely that he may not take too kindly to having a self-appointed competitor, don't you think? Send him to Herod, and I'll send word of my interrogation so that he might make a judgment.
But he must be punished for what he has done.
I will not have him killed. I order for him to be flogged and sent to Herod for questioning.
But, Governor!
I have spoken! Get out of here! And now, I'm going to bed.
Tough day at the office, honey?
Oh, like you wouldn't believe. This town has gone crazy.
Passover weekend's always a busy time of year, I guess, Pontius. I heard there haven't been this many people in Jerusalem since last year's X Factor auditions.
I wasn't talking about the Passover. It's that creepy temple leader Hezekiah. He came into my courtroom tonight trying to stir up trouble.
You haven't really warmed to him, have you, Pontius?
I couldn't warm to him if we were cremated together. I've had ear infections I was fonder of.
He has become a bit of a nuisance, hasn't he? Always coming in and making a ruckus about the new taxes you've been bringing in. Doesn't he understand that it's your job to enforce the collection of taxes so that Rome can rule effectively? Although I'm not sure it was your best idea for the hospitals to all have coin-operated bedpans.
He brought in the teacher Jesus.
Jesus? The one they're calling the Messiah? What has he done wrong?
Well, nothing. That's the point. Although, I don't think they're too happy with that whole parade through the streets last Sunday on the back of a donkey while the people wave palm leaves at him like he's some sort of king. It's got some of those temple officials shaking more than a Carlton fan at the thought of a Chris Judd injury.
And what do they expect you to do about it? Condemn him to cleaning up after the donkey with a pooper scooper?
They want me to have him killed, Claudia.
Come on, you can't be serious.
I am being serious. They're saying he's a threat to Rome, that he's rallying people to rebel, and if we're not careful, he'll cause an uprising.
But I've heard him talk, Pontius. Seems he speaks a lot of common sense to me. The kids all love him. He's even apparently been healing people. Now, that can't be a bad thing, surely.
It's about perception, Claudia. Caesar has to believe that we're in control of Jerusalem. It may be an insignificant backwater, but Rome is watching us, and if I'm not seen to be a strong and effective leader, well, the next time I have my annual review, I could end up with a worse reception than the iPhone 5.
I think you're overreacting. So what did you do?
Well, I think I stood up to them, told them I wouldn't be pushed around, and then I had him whipped and sent to Herod. Hopefully that's the last we'll hear of him. But at the end of the day, he's not that important. What is important is us and our family and our future. And I don't think it really matters what happens in this case.
that wakes me from my slumber. What confounding thoughts are these that tear my sleep asunder? Who is this, the Lamb of God? Is he the one Messiah that keeps me tossing on my bed with heartbeat racing higher?
Jesus is the guiltless one. Don't hurt him. Don't hurt him. His righteousness beyond reproach. Don't hurt him. Don't hurt him.
This Jesus whom the crowds adore has crept inside my thinking. Pulse is racing, mind is blurred, my heart is heavy sinking into the mire of restlessness. I cannot find contentment. Why this warning given me, O messenger of torment?
Don't hurt him. 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 Don't hurt him.
Tormenting voices cease, I pray. Elusive sleep, I crave thee. We will not hurt him, as you say. Now let me rest, I pray thee. Nightmare singers, you have won. I've heard your somber warning. Pontius will not hurt this man. I promise he won't hurt him. Don't 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 hurt
Quiet! All rise for the Right Honourable Governor Pontius Pilate, presiding procurator in the land of Judea.
Don't you ever sleep?
Not when at your service, Pontius Pilate, sir.
Pontius. Pontius. I see you're back. Did I not send you to King Herod to pass judgment on this man? Why do you wake me in the middle of the night? I get very irritated when I'm woken, especially for matters on which I've already passed judgment.
Your Governor Pilate, we thank you for holding an audience with us at this late hour.
Well, that's all very polite, Mr. Mortis. So tell me, what happened over at the palace? Did the king and his beautiful wife invite you all in for tea and cucumber sandwiches while you amicably discussed the prospect of this Jesus of Nazareth taking over the throne?
No, sir.
I thought not. I'll bet he tried to get him to perform a miracle. I hear Herod has been wanting to see this Jesus for some time. He should be thanking me. Expect a fruit platter at any moment, Claudia.
He refused to perform a miracle. In fact, he refused to speak, which to us is an indication of his guilt.
So, just how did the highest authority in your own kingdom react to the suggestion that you kill an innocent man who's healing people and bringing them hope and attracting people from all over the countryside with his positive message?
He sent him back to you, Your Honour.
Typical Herod. That man has about as much spine as a witchetty grub when it comes to making hard decisions. So tell me, what do you want me to do now? He's been before your high priest Caiaphas, he's been before King Herod, and I've already passed my judgment. There is no other course but to proclaim his innocence and let him go.
You can't let him go!
We are all in agreement. This man is inciting the people to rebellion. He has stirred up the people all over Judea with his teaching. He needs to die!
I would watch your mouth, Mr. Hezekiah, or it might be you bearing the brunt of my judgment.
If you let this man go, you are no friend of Caesar's. Anyone who claims to be a king opposes Caesar. I'm not really sure that I would like to be in your shoes, Your Highness, when news of your stance reaches Rome. And you can pass judgment on me all you want. How is it going to look, Your Highness, if you have me whipped, beaten, or even killed for rejecting the authority this Jesus claims to have, even over Rome, even over Caesar himself?
Bring him into my courtroom. I wish to speak to him. Where do you come from? Do you refuse to speak to me? You are amazing, Jesus of Nazareth. Don't you realise I have the power either to set you free or to crucify you?
You would have no power over me if it were not given you from above.
So who is the guilty one here, Jesus?
The one who's handed me over to you is guilty of the greatest sin.
What do I do, Claudia? If I let him go, the ramifications will be felt all the way back to Rome. There'll be no promotion, no Capernaum beach house, no more corporate boxes. But if I have him crucified, have I killed an innocent man?
This is your moment. All your life, you've lamented the fact that you never get to make the decisions which actually impact lives. You've said yourself you're too big for this town. You're a fantastic father and husband, and we know you are wise. We know you are honourable. You have the chance to make a stand, and I will support you in whatever you decide.
Talk about the proverbial rock and a hard place. Maybe I should just do rock, paper, scissors.
You're better than that, Pontius. Aren't there any other alternatives? Isn't there something you could offer them that would appease both the angry hordes outside and Rome?
Probably the only thing that would make them happy is if I took his place and they had me whipped and beaten instead. That would probably make them all happy.
Don't be ridiculous. What I don't get is surely there are worse people out there they could be making a fuss over. How is it they are getting so worked up over someone who's such a goody-goody when there are real criminals and even murderers out there walking the streets?
Claudia, you are a genius. Thank you.
I don't get where you're going with this, but as they say, behind every successful man is a woman rolling her eyes.
I have again examined this man, and I can find no basis of the charges you bring against him. And neither has King Herod, which is why he sent him back to me.
He needs to be punished!
And I think we can also agree that this man has committed no form of violence against any other man, woman or child. Am I not right?
He is corrupting the minds of every man, woman and child. Yeah!
Now listen. Okay. There is a tradition which is upheld every Passover, whereby I, as the leading authority in Judea, have the power to release to you a prisoner who is currently held in Roman custody. This year I am going to give you, the citizens of Judea, the opportunity to choose between two such prisoners. The first of these is the man who stands before you, whom I have found innocent of all crime. The other is Jake Barabbas. Yes, Jake Barabbas, the most hated, scorned criminal to ever have walked the Galilee foreshore. Rapist, terrorizer of women, stalker, burglar, convicted murderer. When he was captured 5 years ago, word spread all the way to Rome, such was his notoriety, and people felt safe walking the streets again. So, you have a choice, citizens of Judea. One of these I will release to walk among you, among your wives, your children, your loved ones. The other will be crucified. So who will you choose, my people? Will it be the man they call Jesus of Nazareth, whose only crime appears to be that he claims to be the King of the Jews? Or will it be Barabbas?
Release Barabbas!
You can't be serious!
The people have spoken, Governor. Our wish is for you to release to us the prisoner, Jake Barabbas.
But what shall I do with this Jesus?
Well, you said it yourself, Governor. He must be crucified.
Shall I crucify your king?
We have no king but Caesar!
But he is an innocent
innocent man! I don't understand you people. I've tried all I can to listen to your charges and make reasonable judgment. But you have forced me to make a decision which is against my will. And I will not be party to it. I am innocent of this man's blood. It is your responsibility. Then let his blood be on us and our children.
I think we've got him.
This man has committed grievous crimes against God and against man. He will receive his punishment.
Hail, King of the Jews! Hail, King of the Jews! Hail, King of the Jews! Call yourself the Son of God. Save yourself. Save yourself.
The dead are raised, and the poor have good news. The poor have good news brought to them.
This sign is to be placed above his head.
But it says King of the Jews.
Surely it should say, he claimed to be the King of the Jews.
What I have written stays written.
You let the children come, you blessed them, the words you speak are so pure. You feed the hungry hearts, your words soothe our souls, your words are like truth in a world of sin. Are you the one who is to come? Are you the one who is to come? Are you the one, or are we to wait for another? Are you the one who is to come? Are you the one who is to come? Are you the one, or are we to wait for another?
He came, he spoke with simple words, touched all those he did see. He said, I come to bring you truth, whatever that means. He stood and never did deny when some said he was king. Like a lamb led away to die, and I didn't stop him. What have I done? What have I done?
Outside, why do people cry? are people saying Jesus' name, that he was sent to die.
Sometimes people can be cruel. They just don't understand. Sometimes the words of just a few condemn an innocent man.
What have I done? I think I killed God's son. And now I've nowhere to run.
My dad's a physician, and he will always be remembered for making people well.
My dad's a farmer, and farmers rule the world.
My father's a potter, and his vases and bowls are the envy of all Jerusalem.
My daddy gives the best hugs in all the land.
How about you, Marcus? What of your father? What will his legacy be? When people look back hundreds of years from now, what will Pontius Pilate be remembered for? Marcus? Marcus?
I think he killed God's son.
What have I done? And if I were to stand before their Lord and was called to justify, if he asked me why I did the things I done, what would I say? I think I killed your son. And now I've nowhere to run.
He came, he spoke with simple words, touched all those he did see. He said, I come to bring you truth, whatever that means.
Hey,
Hey.
I've been looking all over for you. Fred from Surf to Suit wants you to come and get measured up for your wedding gown. What you doing?
Well, I thought I'd just sit around and procrastinate for a while. But then again, I thought I'd leave that till tomorrow.
You can't blame yourself, Thomas. What's done is done.
What sort of disciple am I? Every time he did something, I questioned it. I saw the miracles. I saw the healings. I heard his teachings. And yet, even till the end, I kept questioning whether he was the real deal or not. He could have been our king, Abby. He could have been the Messiah.
Well, who's to say that he wasn't, Thomas?
Well, he can't be now, can he? I had the chance to stand up for him, to proclaim him as the Son of God. But the little elements of doubt kept returning. And what do I do instead? I run away.
Where did they bury him?
there was this guy called Joseph from Arimathea who had an unused grave which he willingly gave up for Jesus' final resting place. Even he, someone not part of Jesus' 12 closest friends, gave up more for him than I ever did. And now there's even more trouble brewing, because apparently someone's broken into his tomb and stolen his body. So not only have I failed to stand up for him while he's alive, but I have failed to stand up for him even when he is dead.
Well, how are the other guys handling it?
Not very well. In fact, they're delusional. No one's heard from Judas since the night in Gethsemane, but all the others hid in the upper room for fear the authorities would come for them as well. And
what is it?
They say he appeared to them. Apparently all the doors and windows were bolted, and yet he was just standing there among them, saying he'd risen from the dead like he said he would. I thought it had hit me hard, but they've just flipped.
Could it happen, Thomas? I mean, why would God come to earth and live among us, do the things that we do, experience everything that we experience, and then allow himself to be killed unless it was for a far greater purpose? If he could do the one thing that you and I can't do and beat death, does that open up the door for us to do the same?
I talked with him, Abigail. Walked with him. Ate with him. Witnessed his excruciating death. I can only believe that my fellow disciples are holding on to a false hope and willing themselves to see him again.
Is there any way it could be possible?
There is nothing I would want more at this time than to know that Jesus is alive. But unless I see the holes in his hands, unless I touch the wounds in his feet, unless I put my hand in his side, I cannot believe it. I am a simple man, Abigail, but how can you believe in something you cannot see?
Isn't that what some people would call faith?
Dad?
You shouldn't be here, Marcus.
Mum sent me. Everyone's worried about you, Dad. You haven't been home in over 3 days.
What has your mother told you, Marcus?
She told me that they killed the teacher Jesus, the one who was healing the sick and performing miracles and stuff. The preacher. She told me that they killed him on the hill called Calvary between two common thieves.
What else have you heard?
Mum wouldn't tell me much, but I heard Bashir whispering to one of the servants that it was you who sentenced him.
I had no choice.
You are my father. It was you who taught me that all are equal in the eyes of the law and that all should be treated fairly and justly, that with judgment comes great responsibility.
I guess you don't know your father that well anymore, Marcus. I always wanted you to look up to me as someone with wisdom, discernment, empathy, astuteness, and intellectual capacity.
Wow. They all sound like words from Miss Bethany's spelling test last week. I don't even know what they all mean.
I just wanted to make a difference in life, son. I always imagined that when you sit your son on your knee and tell him about his grandfather, that you would speak of me with love and pride and respect. It hurts me to think that history may well record that I instead made one of the worst judgments of all time.
When Shadrach talks about his God, he always says that he's always in control and that he always has a plan. Shadrach's people went through heaps of plagues in Egypt, They wandered through the wilderness for 40 years, complaining because they only had wild birds and flaky bread to eat and tents to live in. But then we watched them celebrate the Passover, where they brag about God always being in control.
I don't think he's in control anymore, son.
How do you know that, Dad?
Because I had a chance to save him. I had a chance to make a decision based on something good and right. I had a chance to make a judgment based on the fact that he was a decent human being. And I had the chance to be the example to my own son of the meaning of honesty and fairness and integrity.
Maybe Marcus is right, Pontius. What if it is part of a plan, like the fleeing from Egypt and the wandering in the desert? What if he was meant to die? What if my dream was just to teach us more about who he was? What if their God used you to do what you did as part of a much bigger plan that we don't know about?
Yeah, you tell him, Mum.
Some plan? Coming to Earth to die? I'm not sure their God thought that one through.
I had a dream. You made a judgment. This man we've barely met has made an impact on our lives. We've been drawn closer together as a family. For the first time since I can remember, my husband and son are sharing their thoughts, hopes, and dreams. Maybe there is a bigger, deeper purpose. Some called him the Son of God. You called him the King of the Jews. Some are calling him the Messiah, and others are saying he's risen from the dead.
Well, that's just crazy talk.
But just imagine if it were true. Sometimes it's better not to know the plans which are made for us. Otherwise, we would just mess them up. So, meanwhile, I need to get moving on my plan to take Marcus to Vaughan's to buy some new school sandals. And you should concentrate on inflicting the wisdom of Solomon on the general populace. Here. I brought you some lunch.
Thanks, honey. Just looking forward to another day in paradise.
In this quiet little town where I will always stay, nothing really happens here, and I guess that's fine. Everything's predictable in a little town like mine.
All rise for the Right Honourable Governor Pontius Pilate, presiding procurator in the land of Judea.
It's Pilate. It's Pontius Pilate, you dimwit.
The court calls Mr. Antonio Abatus and Miss Julia Galadius.
Seriously? It's deja vu all over again.
Sorry to once again bother the court, Your Highness, but at the last household meeting, Miss Galadius made a solemn vow and promise that she would manage the household budget to create a surplus of funds which the house could then use to buy an espresso coffee pod machine. But once again, she's broken another household promise, and the people will feel the pain of the coffee deficit.
Well, at least there's still some coffee left in the house. If Mr. Abatus had been in charge, he would have allowed the foreign investors in, let them take control of all our locally quality-produced coffee pods, and left us fighting over the international roast and the black and gold.
This is the woman who thinks that farmers plough their fields with steamrollers in order to grow mashed potatoes.
Do not. I'm telling you, Mr. Governor, if brains were putty, his windows would fall out.
Well, if brains were dynamite, she wouldn't have enough to blow her nose.
See how each day begins just like the one before. Every person has their place, of that you can be sure. Sun comes up and sun goes down, just like yesterday. In our quiet little town, things will never be the same.
Thomas?
It's Jesus!
What do you mean?
I saw him! I touched him! I put my hand in
How
his
can that
side.
be?
He ate some food. And Abigail. Abby, he's alive! He's alive! He's really alive!
When he came before me, he said he came to bring truth.
What is truth?
What is truth indeed?
Everything that Jesus said was true. If you want to know what truth is, look to Him. He showed us how to live. He taught us how to give. He's the way, the life, and I believe He is the truth.
Jesus said He came to bring us love. He came to bring forgiveness from above. He held us in His arms and washed away our sins. Jesus said He came to show us love, and I believe. We are loved, we are blessed, we're forgiven from our past. We can stand on His word and believe in what He said. There is no condemnation, there is no separation. We believe in the power of His salvation. We are loved, we are blessed, we're forgiven, we're forgiven. Jesus said He came to bring us peace. From our fear and pain, He promised us release. Our burden, it is light, no longer must we fight. Jesus said He came to bring us peace, deep peace within.
Jesus said He came to set us free. He came to take our burdens totally, bring healing from our pain, forgiveness for our doubt. Jesus said He came to set us free, and I believe. We are loved.
who he said he was?
What if there really was a plan?
What if our lives are really shaped by God's own hand? Then maybe truth has come.